All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our BCBA Practice Exam series with exam number 7. Today we're continuing with another set of questions and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Be sure to check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shoutout. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. The owner of a law firm allows his associates to use the office after hours to get extra work done. The owner will also order them dinner when they take advantage of the space. Yesterday morning, the owner walked in to find the office was a mess with food boxes and other trash scattered everywhere. How could the boss respond using restitutional overcorrection? Now, pretty straightforward question. The question wants you to answer how the boss can use restitutional overcorrection. So, the most important thing in this question is fluency. Fluency is going to help you through so many straightforward questions. What is restitutional overcorrection? Well, it's a punishment procedure where we have the learner or learners, or in this case, the associates, repair the environment to a better state than it was before. So, if the associates used space and then got dinner, and then when the boss walked in and saw food boxes and trash everywhere, how would the boss use restitutional overcorrection? A, when the associates arrive, have them put trash into a bin over and over again. Well, putting trash into the bin is what he would like to see. And so if he has them engage in the correct behavior over and over again, we typically call that positive practice. A is out. B, leave the trash for the associates to collect and clean up when they arrive. If he only had them repair it to the environment to the state that it was before, that's not going above and beyond. That's not to a better state. The key with restitution overcorrection is we're doing more. So if you look at C, have the associates clean up the trash from the night before, and then have the associates vacuum the carpets around the office, now we're going above and beyond. So C is a better answer than B. And then D, take away the opportunity to use the office from the associates. Well, that would not be repairing the environment. That would not be restitutional overcorrection. If the boss wants to respond using restitutional overcorrection, C is his best bet. Have the associates clean up the trash from the night before, and then have the associates vacuum the carpets around the office. The subject is sitting by himself in a room that only has a chair, a couch, and a rug. From outside the room, his parents and the analyst are observing the child and what the child is doing. If the child engages in the target maladaptive behavior, the behavior is ignored unless it is harmful, then it is redirected. What function is likely being assessed here? Let's think about the function being assessed based on the environment we're looking at. Clearly, it's some sort of functional analyses. And in this case, the subject is in a room, the chair, a couch, and a rug, meaning there's minimal stimuli. He's the only person in there. There's not a whole lot to do. And in what case would you put a person by themselves with very minimal stimuli? Well, if you suspected automatic reinforcement. Think about it. If we look at A, tangible, if we're going to assess a tangible function, well, there would need to be tangibles involved, right? We would have to have some exchange of a tangible. There doesn't seem to be the case here. He's in this room with a chair, a couch, and a rug, and that's it. And then when he engages in behavior, the behavior is simply ignored or redirected. Escape, similar. In order to escape, you have to have something to escape from, typically a task demand in a functional analysis. No task demand present, escape, again, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then attention, same thing. Why would you leave the subject by himself if attention was the function? You would be providing attention in the case of the maladaptive behavior. Given all this information, the function likely being assessed here, and which makes the most sense, is going to be automatic. We have a subject who is alone in a room with minimal stimulation, and when the behavior happens, it's ignored or redirected. Lisa puts together a research design that involves 4 participants. She reaches out to each participant to ask when they would be able to start. Some of the participants are available as early as next week, but some can't start for another couple of weeks. Lisa decides she will start one participant now and then the next one in a week or so, at what point she might move the first participant to intervention. What design does this resemble? We have an experimental design question, and this is more of a challenging one. Let's think about what Lisa is trying to do. What kind of design is she using? She has 4 participants, okay? And she reaches out to each of them to see when they could start. Some can start next week, some can start in a couple of weeks. Lisa decides she will start one participant now, and then the next one in a week or so. And then she'll move the first participant to intervention. So she's going to put one participant in baseline now. In a week, that participant will go into intervention, and she'll put the next participant in baseline. What does this sound like? Well, if you look at A, multiple probe and multiple baseline designs, it does sound like a multiple baseline or multiple probe design. We've got multiple participants. They're all going to go through baseline, and she's going to move one participant out of baseline while the other ones stay in baseline. It sounds very similar. What's the key difference? The difference is when the participants are beginning. Typically, in baseline designs, everybody begins at the same time, and then you move one person into intervention, so on and so forth. In this case, she is delaying the start of some participants. So if we look at C, this is what we're looking at, a delayed multiple baseline design. Of course, with the multi-element design, what would we be considering? We would be considering multiple interventions being rapidly alternated. Not the case here, right? What Lisa's doing is a version of a multiple baseline design where she has her participants. She's going to start one now, and then she's going to delay the next start for about a week and then proceed from there. Again, not an overly difficult question, but it takes a little time and a little thought. Don't be intimidated by the time. You're only going to get faster as you get more fluent and you get more familiar with the material. A case review highlights the fact that the client in question has been kicked out of multiple schools and is a possible victim of abuse from one or more stakeholders. The client is very combative around adults, will lash out if given feedback, and will sometimes engage in property destruction. How did this behavior likely come about? Now, this is an interesting question because it's asking you a pretty loaded question based on some basic information. How did this behavior likely come about? And as good analysts, right, we really want to get a direct observation, but it's a question, right, where we can't get a direct observation. So we've got to think a little more closely about this idea, right, that this client in question, he's been kicked out of multiple schools, maybe abuse, and he's very combative, sometimes property destruction. Well, just based on this information, why might he engage in these behaviors? Well, most likely has something to do with his history at school, his history of abuse, possibly. This client's history seems extremely relevant towards why he's acting or he or she is acting the way they are. So, how did this behavior likely come about? A, selection by consequences. Sure, right? At some point, this client engaged in combative behavior towards adults. He lashed out, he engaged in property destruction, and at some point, the consequences selected those behaviors. And so when we talk about selection by consequences, we can really be talking either about our own personal history or the history of our species. Now, that's what we talk about when we say ontogenic versus phylogenetic or phylogenic, right? With ontogeny, we're talking about personal history. With phylogeny, we're talking about the overall history of the species. We, in this question in particular, are looking at just this client's history. We're not looking at the long line of his relatives and of the species. So we're not looking at the phylogenetic history of the client. Sorry, difficult word to say sometimes. We're looking at the ontogenetic, right? Or the ontogenic, okay? The ontogeny of this client. Now, given these facts, our answer is going to be both A and B. And so, yes, his behavior has been selected by consequences, A, but selection by consequences happened both in personal learning history and history of the species. So we need to narrow it even further, okay, which is going to be the ontogeny of the client, which is his own personal learning history. So the answer has to be selection by consequences, specifically ontogeny. Claire has practiced singing Happy Birthday all week for her dad. This morning, when her dad walked in the kitchen, Claire was unable to sing happy birthday when her mom asked her to in the presence of her dad. What effect might dad be having on the singing behavior if singing happy birthday is in Claire's repertoire? All right, let's first evaluate what the question is asking. What effect might dad be having on the behavior? Well, it's important to note the behavior is in Claire's repertoire, meaning she can do it. Except when dad is there, what happens? Well, when dad walked in, she was suddenly unable to sing happy birthday. What effect is dad having on singing? A. Stimulus blocking. Stimulus blocking, sometimes called masking, is when a stimulus blocks the evocative powers of another stimulus that's already gained stimulus control. The dad is masking or blocking Claire's ability to sing happy birthday. What's the difference between masking and overshadowing, or stimulus blocking and overshadowing? Overshadowing, the stimulus control has not yet been acquired, and something is blocking that from being acquired. In this case, Claire can sing it. It's just her ability to sing it is being blocked by dad. Dad is not punishing the behavior. Why? Well, the behavior hasn't happened. Dad is standing there waiting for Claire to sing. No behavior is occurring. So dad cannot be possibly punishing a behavior that hasn't occurred. So if Claire has in her repertoire singing and isn't in the presence of dad, dad could possibly blocking or masking Claire's ability to sing. Thanks for watching. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube for our updates. As always, when you pass, please let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.